Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprophet.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey, and today we're talking week 13 in the NFL. We got the Mailbag episode, which we got a few questions today, which is good. That means you guys are still in it, if that's the case, because this is it, final regular season week. Actually, we're recording this thing. It's still week 12. Baltimore, Pittsburgh still hasn't been played. So I still am holding out hope that maybe the miraculous thing will happen and I will make the playoffs in our league. And for me to do that, it will take our Pittsburgh defense scoring 30 points tomorrow afternoon. So
it's possible.
Hey, the Atlanta Falcons in our league setting, the Atlanta Falcons scored 28 points on defense this week.
So it's possible. It is, if they have it is a very, very good defense, possibly the best defense. So
yeah,
maybe actually that does go right into Mailbag though. We did get a question from, this is his name, but DJ Ass Cheeks.
Oh, okay. There we go.
And they did actually ask, so did he make the playoffs?
And we will see.
Yeah, we cannot tell you officially yet, but we appreciate that you care, and I hope in my own twisted way that he does not make it.
Oh, hey, if I don't, it's okay.
That is a competitor
it's
in me.
It's okay. It's the COVID season. It really doesn't count.
Oh, we're on that route already?
Yeah, it doesn't count.
It doesn't count.
It's fraud. I'm sure we should go back and recount. I'm sure I got a couple more points.
Draft.
I'm pretty sure I got a couple more points that week that Zeke didn't score the touchdown from the one. I'm sure if you go back and find out, there's some fraud involved. So let's redo the whole thing. Let's throw out, I don't know. Throw out wide receiver touchdowns for that week. Then we're good. But yeah, who knows? Also, if I lose, it's because Kyler Murray, Zeke, and Josh Jacobs combined for 12.2 points for me this week.
Yeah, that doesn't help.
12.2 from Kyler Murray,
I feel like
Zeke, and Josh Jacobs.
You have a wave of bad luck coming your way, though. Just after the unbelievable run you've had in that. Well, let's be honest. We'll just say playoffs right now. We won't even go back how many years when you were on the ridiculous trend of winning titles. But everything seems to go right for you. So just having that 1 week where you just it was just brutal. It was unfair to, the letter T, just how many people can just have the worst week ever for you to lose. I feel like that one was just all wrapped up into one.
And I had 4 losses this year before this week. And if in 3 of those losses, all I had to do was start DeAndre Swift and I would have won 3 of those games. That's it. Just one change.
You didn't believe in our hometown Lions enough. That is where you went wrong. Because you're a fair weather friend. And
it would have been. I can blame myself. I had some bad management calls this year. I really did. I didn't listen enough. And I played Cam Akers over DeAndre Swift 1 week early on in the season, and I lost because of that. I played can't remember. There was another one where I played some random guy I shouldn't have played over. I don't remember who it was. But 3 times, DeAndre Swift, I win. I'm in the playoffs. It's my championship. I can only blame myself this year. And Mike McCarthy. But those are the only 2 that deserve blame, right? Mike McCarthy more than me.
Mike McCarthy and Craig Phillips.
Those are the only 2. That's it. All right. We got some questions that some people sent in to us. So I'm going to start this one off. First question is, I have Latavius Murray. This is from Dr. Gauthier. I don't know if that's how you say it, but that's how I like to say it. He says, I have Latavius Murray on my bench as a handcuff for Alvin Kamara, but it seems like Murray is the preferred play with Taysom under center. He says, is it viable to start both Kamara and Murray? Which another question came in from Zach who says, I have Kamara and Murray. How should I use them going forward? So we got 2 people basically with a similar question here. And it's like, okay, so what do we do with that? And I will say, from what I've seen for the last 2 weeks with Taysom Hill, I believe you can start Latavius Murray right now. I don't think his volume's going to go away. And it seems like he's done pretty well with that. I would feel comfortable starting Latavius Murray right now. I mean, obviously, you're starting Alvin Kamara. but I also feel comfortable starting Latavius Murray. And I don't know if you're on board with that. I feel like I'd be okay with him in my lineup right now.
Yeah, I would be okay with him in my lineup, but I do want to caution. Last week he had a huge week, right? But he also had over 100 yards. He had 2 touchdowns. Yeah, and he did have 19 attempts, and that's the big number, right? That's when you're talking about you don't think that is going away. He has been used relatively healthy the entire year, and every once in a while he'll get a couple touchdowns. That has not been the norm. So even though I would say, yes, I like the thinking there, especially with what's going on with running back, with Taysom Hill, I do think they're going to be using him a little more. When you get close to the goal line, you're going to want to pound it out, right? You're not going to want to have Hill put it in his hands and say, don't throw a pick. So in that case, I do feel pretty good about it, but it would not shock me if he went back to 12 carries and 50 yards, what he's been doing, the past 5, 6, 7 games before that. But yeah, I think he's relatively safe. I think that you're kind of guaranteeing yourself he has a little bit of a higher floor with Taysom Hill in there. But I don't know if I believe he is a standout talent now. So if you do have another running back, I think it would be, you would definitely think about it. But I would be okay with, for this week, starting them both if you need to.
Yep. And then I'll still say just about Alvin Kamara in general. I'm truly worried about it with Taysom Hill behind center.
You're right. Here's a question. Absolutely, and we've talked about this. I'm worried too. I do not like the way they're using him. I don't know if Taysom Hill is the quarterback that will get the most out of him. I think after 2 games, I think we can say probably not.
Yep.
But we say that, but does that change the way you're going to use him? Because
no, not at all.
Okay. So kind of a moot point.
Yeah, it is.
As far as like we can worry all we want, but we're going to play him. You can't trade him now. You can't. Yep. You're on the luge. You can't get off.
That's the part. It's similar how you kind of are with Zeke right now, in a way where you just got to play him.
That one. Everyone wishes they got off the luge earlier when you had a shot, but we didn't.
Oh, it's just saying. I have more confidence in Kamara turning it around actually than Zeke. Zeke, I just don't have any confidence because Mike McCarthy's his coach, and he's not good. He's not good. I put him on equal level with Matt Patricia in how bad they are. I might prefer Matt Patricia over Mike McCarthy. So that's saying a lot. It's a poor coach, but yeah, Kamara, you got to play him. You have to play him, but you don't love it. You don't love doing it. So, all right. Other questions here. It says we got Big Ball of Fantasy has a couple questions for us. He says, how will Zach Ertz perform once he returns? And it looks like Ertz could be back this next week. So Goddard had a really good game against Seattle, but I don't think Ertz is going to come in and take that away from Goddard. Goddard was already doing that prior, but in general. Even though Goddard had a good game, I don't feel confident right now in the Eagles offense anyway to have multiple people be good. So I actually feel like Goddard might be the better tight end right now. Ertz coming off injury. So I'd feel more comfortable with Goddard. But depending on what your tight end situation is, Ertz is probably worth a pickup and just to wait and see what happens. I don't think I'd throw him in his first game, though. I wouldn't put him in this week. But I also don't – you have to show me something to put him in the playoffs next week. But I don't feel comfortable with that. But, hey, I know the tight end position and how it is. And there's definitely situations where you might need him. But I still think Goddard's the better play in Philly the rest of the season, no matter what happens there.
I agree wholeheartedly. I think I like you saying, hey, I wouldn't probably throw him in there the first game. Probably not. Like you said, the tight end position is all over the place. So I wouldn't hold it against anyone if they said, exactly. Hey, I think he has a better chance of, putting up 40 yards than whoever else.
Or it could just be a good upside play. If you don't have anybody else, it's an upside play. Just throw him in there. If you're playing like Eric Ebron, maybe you want to throw Ertz in there and see what happens,
And the truth is and Goddard is, just to put that out there first, Goddard is the better play. I think that's without a doubt. The last 2 games, he's had very healthy usage. I think Craig is right when he talks about worrying about the Eagles in general. And when they're both playing, we haven't really seen them both on the field all that much. The first couple of games, they both played. And then after that, I think it was game 3, Goddard got hurt. And then when he started coming back, Ertz got hurt. So we don't really know what that's going to look like. But the 2 games they were there, Goddard was more of a red zone threat, which is pretty much what makes him stand out. And other than that, their yardage is kind of similar. So I think even if they got back into that, and once again, that's a very small sample size, but I still think that Goddard is, at this point in his career and this season, a better weapon for Wentz and what that offense is. So I do agree that Goddard moving forward, I don't think Ertz is going to really take anything away from him. I think they could both be viable options in the playoffs if Ertz is actually healthy when he returns.
Another question from Big Ball of Fantasy says, can James Robinson keep this up? And I think we've talked about this enough. Yeah. The volume is unmatched, I feel like, in the league right now. No one gets the percentage of carries that he does.
Yeah, and hey, we've seen enough games, right? He has kept it up. He's been the only guy that really hasn't had a down week. I don't think you can say that for anyone else. I mean, week 5 is his worst one. He had 13 carries for 48 yards, and you know, he didn't do anything else. Other than that, he's been incredibly solid. So can he keep going? Yeah, without a doubt, at least for this year.
Dr. Gauthier has another question. It says, pick 2 for flex. This is pick 2 out of these 4 players. So there's 2 receivers, 2 running backs. You got Kenny Galladay, if he's to play finally. Kenny Galladay, Deontay Johnson, James Conner, Jonathan Taylor. So both James Conner and Jonathan Taylor, right, were out this past week with COVID. Is that, if I remember right? It's everything. I mean, well, James Conner hasn't played yet.
James Conner was COVID.
Yeah, he's COVID, and so is Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, you're right. So is Taylor.
I mean, I'm sure. I mean, I don't know what that means for next week. I really don't have a clue these days anymore what that's going to play out.
We'll just assume they're going to be back.
Yeah. Man, this is actually a tough one for me in a way. I don't have any confidence in Kenny Galladay being healthy, and I don't honestly know how I feel about him if he is healthy with that Lions offense. Or maybe this is the week the Lions get a spark with no Patricia there. You know what? I think, man, this is actually tough. Jonathan Taylor, I don't have any confidence in Jonathan Taylor at all.
Let's start with this. I'd probably play Connor, because even though I'm not a huge fan, that offense is doing well. He's actually putting up decent points, right? And we're talking about 3 guys that you don't feel good about any one of these guys currently, correct?
Yep. No,
right.
Really.
We're not overly hyped about it. I think what it really does come down to is Galladay versus Taylor. And do you actually think that Galladay, well, first of all, is going to be healthy, I guess, but if he's healthy, can he immediately fill that role that he's been there? And, or do you think Taylor is on the way back?
No, I'll be honest. Okay, I think I probably would throw Galladay in if he's healthy. If he's out in the field, I think I'm just going to throw Galladay in there with Connor. I think that's where I'd go. I
would too, 100%. And here's the reason. I don't know if he's going to be fully healthy, but I know Jonathan Taylor he's been sliding of late, right? He's up and down. They have other running backs that can do it. We don't know if it's going to be a passing game, a running game. They're kind of all over the place. But I knew Galladay, and he's really only played 4 games, but every game in standard scoring, he's had over 10 points. The question is whether or not he's going to actually be healthy and the Lions are going to show up. But even when they don't, in that small sample size, once again, because he's been hurt all year, he himself has been good, and it doesn't take him a whole lot to get there, right? If they pass it to him 5-6 times, he'll probably get you a decent amount of points, enough that you won't be pulling out your hair that you didn't start Jonathan Taylor, unless for whatever reason he gets 2 goal line carries or something.
All right, we got a question from Zach. He says, just outlook on Swift and Gaskin for the remainder of the season. So with Swift, I'm sure he's going to be back this week, and I feel good about Swift. I feel like we're going to, without Patricia there, I just feel like we're going to get to see Swift featured here and finally get a chance to see what he can do, really see what he can do. I feel pretty good about Swift. Gaskin, I was never really high on Gaskin to begin with. I think he's still, if he's back, which looks like he might be back this week too. If he's back this week, I think he's okay if he gets the volume he was getting. And I honestly don't really see how he probably still will get that volume again. I think he's an okay play, maybe on a flex if you need a spot there. I don't love that necessarily. Swift to me is just far and away so much better than Gaskin. And I think Swift is going to have a good final few games here. So.
Yep. Yeah. Once again, I agree with you. I think the Gaskin one is interesting, right? Because you touched on it. It really is the amount of times he was able to carry the ball.
Yep.
And they just kept going back to him. And once again, they do have injuries now. So, but you did have Breda. You did have
Salvin Ahmad, DeAndre Washington.
Thank you, DeAndre Washington, who they picked up, and then they used him just as much as Breda.
Yeah.
You do have all those guys. Do you think that they're going to lighten Gaskin's workload? Because if he doesn't get 15 to 20 carries that he's used to getting, if I'm just looking to make sure I'm correct, in the last 5 games, he's probably averaged 15, 16 carries, something like that. If he doesn't get that, I don't, he's probably his value drops drastically. Do you think that one of those running backs or with Tua now in, do you think that changes the way that they would use Gaskin?
Not really. I think if anything, if Tua's back, I almost think he might just get more volume. And I'm not worried about it. I don't think any of those backs have been good. I think he's been the best of the bunch. And DeAndre Washington's a nobody. That guy's not good.
Really, all of them have, they're kind of journeymen.
They all, pretty
not
much.
Really, planted their flag in any one team.
So,
that's why they're all here.
Yeah, exactly. All right, here we go. Elvis, got a question from Elvis. He says, I picked up J.K. Dobbins. Do you think he's the guy in Baltimore from here on out? You know what? I think it should go that way, but will it go that way? I'm not as confident. I will say that. I feel like he showed that he should be the main back there. But, I don't have the confidence right now that that's how they'll play it. And we'll wait and see, because we're recording this before the Wednesday game. And there was talk that he could possibly actually now be active, which he wasn't going to be originally. We'll see how that plays out. But after that, honestly, I just don't – I don't have confidence that it's going to be any kind of true running back one here on this team. I feel like because they're going to have Ingram after this week. You'll have Edwards. I just don't feel like Dobbins is going to get the majority of the work. I mean, he'll get maybe more of the work. He's not going to get like a large amount to make it so he's a clear cut number one running back. So I just can't see it yet. Maybe I'll be proven wrong, but I don't see that happening right now.
Yeah. I think he's the one to have, but I still am under the same impression you are, that they're going to cannibalize each other once they're all healthy. So I don't know if it'll matter.
Dylan asked, I got a trade question here. He said, who wins this trade? It's Christian McCaffrey and Mark Andrews, trading away Christian McCaffrey and Mark Andrews for Aaron Jones, Tyler Lockett, Travis Kelce. So I think I want the Jones, Lockett, Kelce side at this point, just because.
I did too.
McCaffrey, I just feel like there's lingering injuries here, and I just don't know if that's going to change. And but to top it off, doesn't matter. He's already out week 13 for bye. So you're already losing 1 week. At this point of the season, losing a week is a big deal. Yeah, he might come back for the playoffs, but I don't have confidence enough in it. And I think the Kelce over Andrews upgrade is huge. And I don't know your wide receiver situation, but I just don't have the confidence. Maybe it backfires and McCaffrey's back and it's McCaffrey, sure. But I don't know if you want to take that chance at this point. I think you get the sure thing.
Kind of how I'm leaning as well. The Kelce is really the thing that pushed me over the edge, because I agree. He is the only sure thing in the tight end world right now.
Yep.
McCaffrey, if he's McCaffrey, you win. You automatically win that trade. I mean, that's what it comes down to. You have to already be in the playoffs, right? Because if you lose him for week 13 and then you don't make it or whatever, then what's the point? But he's going to have, pretty decent matchups, 14, 15, 16, not the best, but Denver, Green Bay, Washington. I mean, he's McCaffrey. He's going to put up big points. He's only played in 3 games this week or this year, and he's in standard is 25, 20, and 27. I mean, he is the closest thing you have to a fantasy, GOAT at the last couple of years. So I don't want to say you lost that. It is completely, he stays healthy, you win. He is hobbled for one more game than he should, you lose.
Yep. All right, M. Dolph has two questions for us. First one is Seattle defense or Miami defense the rest of the season. Because my championship game is week 17. So I got the schedules up right here. So there's actually, I think, a combination of this in a way. So overall, I like Miami's defense better. I mean, I think you're going to agree with that too, right?
Yeah.
But Miami, like week 13, they play Cincinnati. Awesome. You're playing Miami, right? But week 14, they play Kansas City. And you don't love that. There's no... You can't play that. You cannot play the Dolphins against Kansas City, no matter what you do. But if you're looking at Seattle plays the Jets that week. So go pick them both up. Go pick them both up, right? You play that Dolphins week 13. You play Seattle week 14 playing against the Jets. Week 15, Miami gets to play New England, which should be pretty solid. Week 16, I believe, they play Las Vegas, who look what Atlanta just did to them. I'm going to play them there. Week 17's interesting. That's where it gets interesting. But Seattle's not the play, I don't think, there either. Because maybe Seattle is playing San Francisco.
San Fran.
So maybe that's how you do it.
Matchup.
Maybe you go Seattle that week, unless there's somebody else out there you can pick up, like the Patriots, who are playing the Jets that final week. And Patriots are about 50% owned right now. So honestly, if you have this bounce on your bench, I go pick all three of them up. And I've done that before. If you're in the playoff run, if you could pick up all three and actually make it work and have them all on your bench, I would do that. And obviously, you drop Seattle. Then after week 14, you can use somebody else there. But then play Miami for what? I said Miami for 13, 15, 16. Seattle for 14. Play the Patriots for 17 if they're available. If the Patriots aren't available, Seattle against 49ers, I think I'm okay with that. But I think that's
I think the only question I would have on that, I like Miami's defense a lot better.
Yeah.
But the only other one that I think we breezed over would be week 15. If you have Seattle and you have Miami, I think that's an interesting one. Washington has been better of late, right? Just they're running the ball out with Antonio Gibson. They're putting up a few points, whatever it may be. They're not really turning the ball over like when they had Haskins. Seattle plays Washington at Washington in week 15, where Miami is. Who are they playing on week 15?
Oh, let me see this.
New England? I think New England. Which one?
I still feel better about the Dolphins that week.
Okay.
I still feel better about the Dolphins that week. Not by as much, but I just don't feel like the New England offense is any kind of explosive at all. And I feel like Cam's good for a pick or a fumble.
Yeah, he has been recently.
So,
okay. I wanted to put that one out there because Washington, as soon as you see them, your mouth starts watering and you're like, okay, well, Seattle has Jets and Washington. Giants, Jets, Washington. Can you just, roll with them and then pick up someone else for 16, 17 perhaps?
I mean, you could go that way too. I'd say that's an option. I wouldn't be worried about the Washington matchup. I really wouldn't. Seattle's not a great defense though. I feel like they just need a really good matchup to play really well. So, but
yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, what is the most points they put up this year? I mean, it was against Philly, and obviously Philly has been really struggling, or Dallas when they were struggling in week 3.
Yeah,
they haven't been. I guess it's safe, but you're not going to win off of a defense, right? And a lot of defenses are putting up a lot of points. So I guess in that case, you're correct on saying might as well take the gamble on Miami because obviously they do have the ability to make those big games happen.
One final group of questions here coming from good old brother Coffee Bean. He's going to end the show today with a few questions here. First one from brother Coffee Bean, who's a weekly messenger, I'll say that. Sends us messages every week, so we appreciate it. First one, should I start Cooper Kupp or David Montgomery at flex for this week? I'll go David Montgomery against the Lions all day.
Yes, he looked great last week. It's a good matchup. I would keep that train rolling.
And also there's another possible one, though, would just be between these two then, Claypool or Cooper Kupp. So there you got Claypool going against Washington, Cooper Kupp going against Arizona. Cooper Kupp hasn't been amazing all the time, but I'm going to go Cooper Kupp actually over Claypool. Barely. I don't know. You think you might go the other way here.
I would go Claypool.
Yeah.
Cooper Kupp has been disappointing. I don't know. I once again, I don't like the rhyme or reason of how they use people. It's good for the Rams a lot of times, but I think Claypool is just a lot more upside, so I would rather take that. As we've seen the last couple of weeks, I mean, he finds the end zone, and Pittsburgh is on fire. So I will trust that one pass can outscore Cooper Kupp if he has a decent, output anyway.
Next question, he says, should I pick up both Carlos Hyde and Latavius Murray instead of having Kalen Ballage and Leonard Fournette? So Hyde had a lot of volume against Philly, but he wasn't good with it. 15 carries, 22 yards. I definitely want Murray, I think, over, with Eckler's back now. Caleb Ballage is going to be in a battle with Josh Kelly and Eckler, and Fournette hasn't done anything for me. I don't feel great about the Hyde part of it. That's the part.
I mean, let's be honest. You're not starting those guys unless injuries occur, right? So I'm in my head, I'm kind of trying to think. Ballage, I could care less if we drop him, really. I like Latavius Murray. Is kind of sneaky, but I think that he is useful for the reasons we talked about earlier. Hyde and Fournette, they both have their backup ability, right? I think something has to happen to Rojo in order for Fournette to be ever put into your lineup, really. And the same thing happens with Hyde. Chris Carson is clearly the number one there, and if he is there, Hyde isn't worth a whole lot. In that, saying that, Chris Carson has a better chance of going down than Rojo in my mind. I don't know. So I guess if I'm playing that scenario out in my head, I'd rather have Hyde, Latavius Murray.
I think so too. I think I'm on board with you there. I think I agree. Don't feel great about it, but I agree.
It's kind of messy logic.
Yeah, I agree though. Next up, he says, should I bench Cam Newton for Alex Smith? And not for this upcoming week. Alex Smith plays against Pittsburgh. And I can't do that.
You don't want any part of that.
And I still don't think I do it anyway. I think I just play Cam and hope for the rushing touchdowns. You don't love the situation you're in, but I would take the chance. And you can't play him. You can't not play him against Alex Smith against Pittsburgh. That's just asking for trouble. And I mean, Cam's schedule: Chargers, Rams, Dolphins. We think that could be not as great. Buffalo's not great, but at least for 2 weeks, I think it's okay. I don't know. I don't feel confident enough in Alex Smith though. I don't think there's a lot of big volume there. But he goes Pittsburgh at San Francisco, Seattle. I don't love it either. I'm going to stick with Cam.
Yeah, I would too. Even though he was very upsetting last week, but if you look at the weeks before, those games have still been better than what Alex Smith has produced. It's very late in the year. I like what he's been able to do coming back and playing, but they're not a pass-heavy team. They're turning into a much more run-heavy team, right? Antonio Gibson has been kind of lighting it up lately. They're going to continue to do that, and he doesn't have the greatest. Like, if he was playing against really bad defenses and you got to see one game of him putting up 20 points or something, maybe I would have that discussion. But right now, I still think it's Cam.
Yep. Then final question he has. So he currently has Jonnu Smith and Jared Cook also at tight end, but he has another one who he thinks might be more reliable. So his question is, should I rely on Jonnu Smith in the fantasy playoffs, or should I basically said my only tight end I trust and has been reliable has been Robert Tonyan, and I'm going to play Tonyan over Jonnu Smith right now at this point. So I think you go Smith or go Tonyan. I don't feel comfortable with Smith right now. I think it is, like he says in the thing, he says, we saw on Sunday it was the Derrick Henry show. And you know what? I think it's going to be the Derrick Henry show going forward. So I put Jonnu Smith to the bench or the waiver wire, and I'm playing Robert Tonyan.
Yeah, I would. I think for me, it's probably maybe a little closer than what Craig is saying, but I agree. I like Robert Tonyan and what he's doing. I think Aaron Rodgers versus Derrick Henry, right? It's going to be run first. I think you're absolutely correct in that. I like Jonnu Smith, but he's very touchdown dependent. It's kind of funny. I know that it's because we're talking about Tonyan. I can say yes, I would go with Tonyan, but I think we're kind of cutting Jonnu Smith off at the.
Okay, are we?
Because one game has been really bad, but other than that, I mean,
he's been bad. Here we go. I'll list some games here for you. So this past game, 0 catches, 0 yards. The week before, four catches for 20 yards. He did get a touchdown. The week before that, 2 catches for 14 yards. The week before that, 2 catches for 32 yards. Got a touchdown. Before that, 2 for 29, 1 for 9, 1 for 13. So he's been bad since week 6 and got 2 random touchdowns in there. So,
yeah, well, okay, well, very true. But even in week 10, he went 2 for 14, but he also got a rushing touchdown.
I don't count that.
They don't count that.
That doesn't count.
They find a way to get him the ball, especially in the red zone, which definitely does count for something in the world of tight end, right? He did have 3 weeks where he did absolutely nothing.
And he has 12 catches in 7 games. I don't like that.
No, I mean, that is definitely what we do not like. But, and Tanyan has been better. I think, he might be the number 2 tight end. He's the number 2 tight end right now. Which should tell you enough about how bad tight end has been.
Yeah. And he gets around 5 catches for a few weeks. It's not like he's setting the world on fire either. But
no, by any, and let's be honest, the only reason we're like him right now is because each of the last 2 games he's caught a touchdown.
Yeah, exactly.
So it is completely dependent on whether or not they get in the end zone.
It's an ugly position.
I ride the hot hand because you're going against Philly, Detroit, Carolina, and then Tennessee for the playoffs and the remainder of the season.
Yep.
And I think Jonnu Smith is a little more shaky. Not to mention in the red zone, they're probably going to keep giving it to Derrick Henry. So
yep.
I like your rationale, but I just wanted to point that out. Like, no one's lighting it on fire. So
definitely not. So, all right, that'll do it for the mailbag. We'll be back with you guys Sunday night. We'll talk about week 13, final regular season week in fantasy football. Hopefully it's a good one for you. Hopefully I come out tomorrow and make it and keep my season alive by scoring 30 points for the Steelers defense. It'll be great. If that happens, everyone will know for fact that I sold my soul to the devil years ago to make the fantasy playoffs every year. So
yes, without a doubt.
That will prove it once and for all that yes, I did do that. So we'll see what happens. But all right, that'll do it. Talk to you guys next time.